Your massive website is causing all sorts of problems. Hi marketing leader, it's me again, this time with a bit of a rant, and that comes from a little backstory that I have from our developer, so let me explain. So to keep things short, this video is about your website being too heavy, too large, and the implications that it has. And where we're coming from is a conversation or observation that one of our developers had, and in a specific scenario, we had a very large backup for a website of one of our clients. Not a large website at all, but the backup was just disproportionately high. There are a couple of reasons why your website might be just too heavy. One of them, scripts. You are partially in control of them. Let's say live chat script. We used to have live chat script on our Nerdka website. We don't really have a capacity to have a fully functioning live chat service for our visitors. So what it did essentially was just waste resources, right? People had to go on that website, the live chat had to load, the script had to execute. Probably added like half a second, maybe even a full second to the load time, and we weren't really happy with it, so we removed it. Maybe you should do that too. Second type of scripts, analytics. Not just Google Analytics, not just tracking metrics, but let's say Hotjar, Crazy Egg. Do you know them? They help you record sessions from your users so you can see how they interact with the website. You get heat maps, so how far they scroll, where they click, and all of that. Now that's all great. We love Hotjar, we use it. Thomas watches recordings every single morning, I think. Crazy. But anyway, what if you have both? So we've seen situations where marketing website had both or even more than 2 scripts installed that do the same thing. So Hotjar and Crazy Egg, as I've said, literally the same, maybe just slight differences in features or user interface. You don't need both of them. If you have both of them, one of them is just dead weight. That's all, and it slows down your website. The second thing, I think it's a bigger one, and one that you right there can actually influence: assets, images, videos. Why are they so important? When you take a random image from the internet, or even we've seen that with designers, right? You have a designer in-house, they give you assets, you plug them on the website, and it's crap, right? I don't mean bad quality, just too large. The file size is just too big. Well, that's all down to compression. And let me tell you, when you take that image and you use it in a compressor online or on your computer, you will save over 70% of file size. Without getting into details with compression, different file types, different file formats have different compression algorithms. You can split them into 2 main categories: lossless and lossy. So starting with the lossy one, I think it does what it says on the tin. You get smaller file size, but you get noise, just lower quality, not good at all. We don't want that. But when you take JPEG, for example, you have lossless compression, and by default those compressors give you a quality on a scale from 0 to 100%, and the default is 90%. And let me tell you, I set it to 70% all the time, and you can't see the difference. Trust me, you won't be able to see that difference. The smaller the image is, the less of a difference there is, so you can probably even push that further, below 70%. But as a baseline, set it to 70% and you'll have a lot of savings in file size. Where to do that? Well, you can easily use websites like tinypng.com or imagecompressor.com, or just Google image compressors and you will get a ton of them. There are applications for your PC, so you can download them and use offline. Up to you, just select whatever suits you. So that was quite a detailed intro. I think let's get into the first implication of your massive website, and I don't mean massive in like a good way, massive as is oversized assets, all of that. So first thing is, I think obvious again, performance, right? Your user experience suffers, the site loads longer. I think everyone knows the stat now that flies all over the internet, that X second load time and people leave and they never come back, right? Dramatic as hell. But that's the case. The website loads slow, I don't want to use it. Perfectly fine. You lose conversions, you lose visitors, you lose PPC budget even, right? You're doing all those ads and the website is too slow, you're wasting money. And Google recognizes that, let me tell you. Not only does it affect ads, but of course also SEO. Google measures that performance for each user when they permit that, of course, privacy and all of that, but they will know the real user load times, right? So not from a benchmark, like made up benchmark, which is, they are great, like page speed, insights, GTmetrix, all good, but the real world performance is what matters, and Google knows that. So for SEO, they will see you're a bit slow, and then you'll go a bit lower in the rankings, right? And for PPC, they will see you're a bit slow, they will make your cost per click a bit higher, and that's really oversimplified, I would say, but that's roughly what happens. So already great benefit, conversions, lower PPC cost, higher SEO rankings, all from just reducing the size of images, right? I mean, awesome, great performance. Let's get on to the next point. So number 2, let's circle back to the story that I had for you. And that was one of our developers voicing a concern that the backup of one of the websites was quite heavy. And you might think, well, that's just a backup, not my problem, leave me alone, just code it, go away. Well, you would be wrong, and I think that's the most interesting part of the video. It's a surprising reason, and let me give you just a bit of more context of how we work before I tell you what are the implications of large backups for that way of working. We edit websites on a local machine, and that's probably how most of development, software development, web development works these days. We have a local machine, we have the copy of your website, and we need that backup, which we'll go back to soon. We need that backup to set it up. Then we have a development website, which is online just for us. We need to see it in a real world environment, or just as close as possible to that. So we have a development server. Then you have staging, this is another one, and that's for you. You can play around with copy on it, and we show you previews of changes there. And finally, live website. Everyone sees that you can't touch it, because if you break it, then it's broken for everyone, right? In the past, those backups weren't that big of an issue, because like in 2000, you would edit live website on the FTP, so you would basically mingle with real world code, and if you made a mistake, everyone could see that. So yeah, but that's 20 years ago, probably the last time I was in development personally. But these days, we do it locally, as I've mentioned, and that large file size of the backup will be an issue. So of course, we need to download it, and it's not that big of a problem. I mean, internet speeds are crazy these days, so it will take maybe just a minute longer, or maybe even seconds, but it adds up, right? If you have to do it every single day, or maybe even a few times a day, that happens. It really all adds up, and not only to the time, but also the frustration. Of course, Lucas is just pulling hair out of his head, right? Maybe we can plug Lucas somewhere in there so you can see what he looks like. But then, that brings me to the third point. And it's still about the backup, but just not about an angry developer now. I think it's much closer to home. When you are looking for website hosting, you probably want cheap and good. They don't go well together. You usually can have either good or cheap. So let's say value for money. That's fair. We all want the most value for our money. So you will get a hosting that is just okay for you. That's fine, right? Most marketing websites probably can get by on like shared hosting, not too expensive. That's awesome, right? That makes it so accessible for even the smallest businesses. But then you have a backup. It has like 1 gigabyte, that's fine. Then it gets to 2, 3, 6, 10 maybe. And at some point you risk basically overrunning your bandwidth, your storage space, and you will start paying extra for that. You might be doing that right now. Why don't you go and check out your hosting right now and see if there are any overcharges in your account? Maybe the hosting that was £20 a month a year ago is now £100 because you are constantly adding those large images. Not good. So if you are making that mistake, maybe you don't compress those images, maybe, and we've seen that a lot, maybe you upload it 5 times, right? Why? 1 JPEG, 1 PNG, 2 PNG, 3 PNGs, another JPEG. You just go into, for example, in WordPress media library, and you have a full row of the same image, and you only use one of them. Just delete them. They sit in your backup file, and they just take up space, and that space affects your developer, and that space affects your performance sometimes, not always, and that space also affects your hosting bill. So just get rid of it. Easy as that. And that's mostly it. You can really go a long way if you compress your images. Again, tinypng.com, imagecompressor.com, just Google image compressor, that works as well. Just keep paying attention to that file size. Now let's play a little game. Maybe you play video games. I will be the NPC in that case, and I will have a quest for you. Please go to one of your most popular pages, ideally content page, maybe not home pages. Find a blog article that is really popular, maybe use Google Search Console to do that. And please download all of those assets that you have there, all images that you have on there, and throw them into tinypng, image compressor, any of those. And then leave me a note in the comments, tell me how much percentage have you saved. Has the file size went down 10%, 20, 50, 70, maybe even 80 plus? Let me know. If I was a betting man, I would say 70% plus will be probably what most of you get, but I'd really like to know, and I just hope it helped. So let me know if it did. Please post those comments with percentages of file sizes that you've saved, and then just go do it on the entire website, just page by page, split it up. Maybe it will take a month, just do one page a day. Optimize those images, delete those that you are not using, and you will see a massive improvement, and probably your web agency will thank you as well. So improved relationship, all good, just winning across the board.